Welcome to Secretly Sporty. I'm your host, Sebastian Langdell, and I'm joined here with my co-creator, Austin Rackless. Hi, Austin.
Hey, Sebastian. How's it going?
I've been a little under the weather for a few days, and I've just been getting back into my normal running routine. You always want to go back to your long run goals and hit all the higher numbers and stuff. It's always interesting kind of negotiating what's actually best for your body when you're kind of easing back into it.
Yeah, it's one of the most frustrating things about fitness, right? It takes a long time to build up strength or stamina, and it really doesn't feel like it takes long at all to lose that strength and stamina.
Yeah. How about you? How is your week going?
My week is good. It's been actually really busy. So it has been about trying to fit in the workout that I can do when I can, acknowledging that anything is better than nothing.
Mm.
I think when I was younger, I was really streaky at the gym. I'd be really good for maybe a month, and then something would happen in my life, and then I would be like, well, I lost my streak. And then I would be off for 2 months. And now you have a bad week, you just get back to it.
Getting back on the horse, so to speak. That is a characteristic of today's guest, Jamelle Bouie, known to many primarily for his opinion pieces in the New York Times. And in this episode, he really does drive home his dedication to kind of the functionality of exercise.
Absolutely.
For someone like Jamelle, I don't think it necessarily needs to be fun for him. I think that he's okay with it being kind of a functional thing in his life and a part of his day.
He has other passions that fitness helps him. He's very passionate about clothes.
Yeah, we go a lot of places in this episode. It's interesting. And I think it says a lot about him as a guest, how quickly we transition from talking about weightlifting and running to talking about photography, his sense of style, his interest in movies.
He really got to go in depth about various movies, and especially a sort of reoccurring theme about masculinity in those movies.
Yeah. I had a little thesis about this triumvirate of movies from spring 99 to spring 2000, namely The Matrix, Fight Club, and American Psycho. And, he had a lot to say about it. And we also touched on Mad Men, and we touched on another 90s movie with Michael Douglas called Falling Down.
And one thing I want to add, because if I don't, our co-editor Andy Rattinger might quit on the spot, and we cannot have that. He is an essential ingredient to the team. Is that there are spoilers in this episode. If you do not want to have any idea what those movies are about,
Pause, go watch all of those things right now, every season of Mad Men, and then unpause and just listen to it right after.
should we get into it? Oh, I guess we should.
Let's get into it. Here's Jamelle Bouie. All right, Jamelle, welcome. It's great to have you here. We like to start by asking about your most recent workout. So what did you do? How did it go?
Sure. Let me actually look at my app here because I don't remember anything.
What app do you use?
It's called Gymaholic. It's very sort of like DIY. You have to do a lot, sort of set up the way you want it to. But once you have it set up the way you want it to, it is very, very nifty.
Nice.
I've been using it for years. So the last workout I did was on Wednesday. I jogged for a mile to warm up. Then I did barbell deadlifts, standing military press, wide grip, lateral pull down, a dumbbell bench press, seated leg curl, leg press, some shoulder pulls, and then planks and crunches to finish up. And then after that, later in the day, I jogged 2 more miles.
Do you have a favorite of those exercises?
Here's the thing. I exercise 4 or 5 times a week. I go to the gym.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I enjoy it. So of those exercises, I suppose the deadlift is my heavy lift of choice. Not necessarily my best heavy lift, but the one that doesn't fill me with dread when I have to do it.
Yeah.
My best heavy lift is my squat, a natural squatter, I suppose. But I genuinely hate squats.
You work out about 4 times a week. Is it this type of kind of setup, running and lifting, or do you kind of mix it up within a given week?
4 times a week, I lift weights. And so that's sort of an upper-lower split. And then on the days where I'm not lifting, I'm either doing a longer jog, 4 or 5 miles, which is longer for me, or I'm just walking around a lot to and from wherever I need to be, walking my dog, being kind of just generally active. I bike everywhere in town. So I'm always on my bike.
Have you always been this active?
I was not into sports sports in high school and college. I played like recreational football. My parents were in the military, and I would just go to the on-base gym. I was not terribly active in college, and I really got into being much more active and sort of thinking about fitness after I graduated when I moved to DC. I think I'd gone to the doctor once and like my blood work wasn't great. And I was like, I probably should think more seriously about this.
I mean, how do you stay motivated to consistently lift and whatnot if it's not something that, you love doing?
I feel like this is a very unsatisfying answer, but it's just, well, it's the thing I have to do, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it's not even a question of like motivation, it's just like
Mhm.
I have to do it. I cook for my family. And am I necessarily motivated to want to cook dinner every night? Not really. But do I have to do it? Yeah. So
Yeah.
so then I have to do it. I think this perspective that you're not always going to be motivated to do something, you're not always going to find it exciting, you're not always going to want to do it, but it has to be done. There's no gamifying it. There's like nothing to make it sort of exciting. It's just like it's a task that must be accomplished.
Right.
I sort of think as a vision that's like someone gotten lost in our kind of contemporary moment where there is a sense that everything has to be fulfilling. I suppose I'm not sure that it does.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that everything needs to be fulfilling. I'm not sure that everything you need to like. And I almost think that the insistence that everything is probably not good. That
Mm.
it's important to do things that have to be done because they have to be done. And that's the only reason.
And not everything has to be like your passion project.
Yeah. And I'll say it is a time where I can kind of just not think, but sort of not have my brain on.
Hmm.
You're thinking about what you're doing when you're moving your body, but it's sort of at a certain point kind of mechanical. And so you're just sort of, letting the mind wander, which can be really helpful.
Yeah.
It can help you work through problems, generate ideas, come to insights, that kind of thing. And I do have quite a few sort of, oh, this would be an interesting observation to make moments when I'm just like in the middle of a workout. Also, and this is this is very vain, but like I like clothes and I
Yeah.
spend too much money on clothes. And I kind of want to continue wearing the clothes that I spend too much money on, like for as long as possible. And so that really does necessitate, okay, I have to basically be the same size for as
Yeah.
long as I can possibly manage it.
Are there any kind of brands or anything that you gravitate towards?
Not so much brands. I very much like kind of mid-century, like American Ivy styled kind of stuff. Most days, I'm wearing an Oxford cloth button down and some chinos and like a sport coat. I'm looking for particular items and particular details. And if I can find those wherever, I'll find them. So like the last thing I bought, I was really in the market for a 'cause it's you're in Texas, I'm in Virginia. It's getting warm.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for a patchwork Madras sport coat, just sort of like colorful plaid, but not like the sport coat constructed from like patches of different patterns. And I
Mm.
found one from a Japanese brand, Beams Plus, that had all the details that I wanted. The pockets were the way I wanted it, the buttons were the way I wanted it, and it like fit. And so I bought it.
Yeah.
Do I routinely scour the Beams Plus catalog looking for stuff? Not really. But I know that the brand will do stuff like this. And so I was like, let me go check out to see what they're producing,
Yeah.
to see if it has what I'm looking for after kind of going through the secondhand game.
I love scrolling through your Instagram because you're a photographer as well. And your aesthetic when it comes to photography, it seems to me also it's capturing America in the present, but it's kind of like a retro America. It seems like there's a maybe parallel between, your clothing style and your photography aesthetic. Do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, a lot of my interests trend towards basically the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and not in a
Mm.
kind of like facile nostalgia way, just in sort of like the things Americans were producing during that period I think are interesting. I find them aesthetically pleasing. And the same goes for photography. When I look over at my shelf, I have a bookshelf that's just photography books. A lot of the stuff is from exactly this period, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Were you a Mad Men fan? The reason I'm asking is because thinking about like fitness, working out as a guy in the 21st century, shows like Mad Men obviously have one form of masculinity.
Right.
And one thing we explore on this show is, the myriad different things that can mean today.
So it's interesting because when you watch that show, and obviously sort of like the this is a mean way to put it, but like the dumb guy take on Mad Men is like, yeah, Don Draper is the way a man's supposed to be.
Mhm.
The show is very much like Don Draper is a miserable human being. He's like, he has a fractured identity. He doesn't understand himself on some fundamental level. And the arc of the character is coming to some kind of self understanding. And the irony, like the big joke at the end, as I see it, is that self understanding just helps him sell more ads. So, the show itself, I think, actually has like a very complicated picture of that vision of masculinity because all those characters, they struggle with the expectations of being a man of that class and station at that time, for as much as the aesthetic might be appealing. And so for me, I'll say for myself, I mentioned that I do like that aesthetic, the mid-century United States.
Yeah.
But when I think about like models of masculinity, I'm not sure that there's anything specific to that period that's like worth extracting. Like my own model, and this is very old-fashioned in a way, very traditional. My own model for masculinity is just sort of like my dad.
Okay.
My father served in the military for 25 years. Is like very much a military guy. My mom was in the military too, and so it's shaped by that as well. But my dad is like a kind of he's quite old-fashioned in a
Mhm.
lot of ways. Believes in making yourself presentable, like dressing in a presentable way, showing courtesy to people, taking seriously your responsibilities and obligations, like all that kind of stuff, which is, I think, connected to like a kind of traditional form of masculinity that isn't so much about like dominance as it is about being a man means that you are willing to take on responsibilities and see them through. That's like that I think he would maybe describe that as a masculine virtue. Is that an exclusively masculine virtue? Of course not. But that is tied up, I think, in kind of like a certain vision of traditional masculinity. That's how I approach things, both as a person in the world, as a father myself, as a husband myself, as a writer. One of the things that I write quite a bit about in my column is just the importance of virtue and decency in public life. Not in a kind of you shouldn't use bad language way, but in a kind of like you need to recognize other people as having, fundamental and intrinsic value. You need to recognize other people's contributions as being worthwhile and worth taking seriously. And the urge or drive to dominate others is kind of antithetical to trying to live together in a society.
I want to kind of sketch out the wider picture when it comes to working out for you. I mean, are the types of workout clothes you wear important to you, or do you listen to music when you're working out? Is it important to you to be listening to a certain kind of music?
Workout clothes, I have stuff that I got from Dick's Sporting Goods.
Hmm.
Nothing special there. I do have like a couple playlists that I come to again and again. The music I listen to when I'm working, it's either sort of jazz or collections of hip hop beats, right? Like from Doom or from Madlib or from The Alchemist, like those guys. But that stuff, it doesn't motivate me when I'm lifting weights or exercising. So I do have a couple playlists of stuff I listen to and exercise. And it's all basically the music I either heard or listened to when I was like a younger teenager. It's very sort of like familiar. I don't focus too much on it. I mean, some of it's fine. I have a playlist of just like a bunch of 90s house that like, listen to in the car with my mom when I was a kid, and I like it. And it's good workout music. And then some of it's just objectively bad, Do I listen to like a bunch of Limp Bizkit sometimes when I lift? Yeah. Is new metal from the 2000s like very much part of my exercise playlist? Absolutely. Do I listen to it in any other context? Nope. I kind of don't understand people who can listen to podcasts while working out. I find that inexplicable.
Thinking back to the Limp Bizkit era, something's just occurred to me recently. So there are different puzzle pieces to this, but one is I just watched that Louis Theroux Manosphere documentary on Netflix, and to see the kind of focus on the Matrix as a movie and the idea of the red pill, right? And so like the manosphere and their kind of like adherence to this idea of like red pilling. That 1 year period between spring 1999 and spring 2000, the Matrix came out, followed closely by Fight Club, and then by American Psycho. Brad Pitt's physique in Fight Club, Christian Bale's physique in American Psycho set an interesting standard for manhood, I think, around that time that has become an ideal, especially in like manosphere circles.
The interesting thing about all three of those movies is that they come out of like the cultural moment they come out of is like 90s ennui, right? Like it's discontent with prosperity is the backdrop to all those movies. So Ed Norton's character in Fight Club is basically a well-to-do professional middle class guy. Nothing
Mm.
particularly wrong with his life, but he feels that it lacks meaning. Neo in The Matrix is a basically well-to-do professional guy.
Yeah.
Nothing really wrong with his life, but feels that it lacks meaning. And then Christian Bale's character is an even more affluent and successful guy who is so desperate for meaning in his life that he has, I mean, how I see the movie, a fantasy life as a vicious serial killer, like
Mm.
you committing violence against people to give his life some sort of meaning, because otherwise he's just like an identical drone with his colleagues. So they're all kind of commenting on the same kind of feeling that prosperity, the end of history has robbed white American men specifically of some sort of meaning. But the thing about each movie, and this is especially true of Fight Club, is that those films then subvert that. So what's always been very funny to me about Fight Club is that Ed Norton's character withdraws from mainstream society. It's like, I'm going to find meaning in transgressive violence and all these things. And then he creates Project Mayhem, or Tyler creates Project Mayhem,
Mm.
which ends up being a total recapitulation of the thing he tried to escape. What is Project Mayhem? A bunch of identical guys acting as drones in what is essentially like an office, following regimented orders in the same exact fashion that he did in his regular job, just now geared towards an antisocial purpose.
Mm.
And it's just sort of like, yeah, he can't escape this. And the message of the film, as I see it, is that trying to construct meaning through violence or these sorts of things is a fool's errand, and that you have to find some measure of like self-understanding. And Marlowe
Mm.
represents, right, like the attempt to find self-understanding. Having said that, it is kind of darkly ironic then that those films have become touchstones for sort of like modern reactionary masculinity, the manosphere, where the most superficial aesthetics forward understanding of the films is taken to be the meaning, or the movies are seen as being, yes, some true diagnosis of what's ailing the Western man. When each of those films really, I think, it suggests in its own way that it's kind of bullshit to be full of ennui because your life's too good.
Yeah.
I mean, American Psycho, I would actually describe as like a dark comedy. People don't watch it as such, but it's very comedic to me. And I think the director, she envisions it as a comedy. The Matrix, obviously, a thriller. Although the Wachowskis in the sequels to that film directly subvert the tropes of their own movie. So The Matrix Reloaded
Mm.
takes the idea that Neo is the one, and it's like, actually, there are many ones. Actually, you're not really that special. There have been many of you, and this messianic vision is very silly. It's something we made up to get you to do what we want. And the rest of the series is sort of about, okay, like in the absence of some grand narrative to give you self-actualization, how do you achieve self-actualization? And the message
Mm.
of the Matrix, of the sequels, is like, oh, through love, through the power of love, right?
Yeah.
So all these movies like subvert this in their own way, and it's interesting to me that the subversion is never picked up on.
Yeah.
Only the sort of most surface level possible reading of each of these texts.
I mean, even if you just watch the entire movie and digest it, you can see that it's pushing against this kind of strive for idealization or body perfection or whatever. But it's easy to leave that aside and just focus on the iconic shots of like Brad Pitt, having just beaten someone up or whatever.
This is the problem inherent in movies, right? Like I think inherent in cinema as a medium, which is that, especially Hollywood,
Mm.
is that you can attempt to subvert something, but in trying to do so, it's hard not to make that thing look cool as hell, right? Like
Yeah.
this is the, I think it's apocryphal observation that Francois Truffaut made about how there's no such thing as an anti-war movie, because an anti-war movie must depict war, and it's
Right.
very hard to depict war in such a way that doesn't make it look at least a little kick-ass. Not Truffaut's words.
Yeah.
My gloss on Truffaut. But I think the same is true for those aforementioned films that are attempting to say something about the state of cultural life in the 90s. One of my favorite movies from that decade, much earlier on, is Falling Down with Michael Douglas, directed by Joel Schumacher. on its surface, the angry white man is justified about how he's been put upon on the world. But the film is very clear that like this narrative is incredibly self-serving and stupid, right? Like that this
Mm.
guy has not been put upon by the world. He has not lived up to his own potential. He has been abusive to his family. He has built his own prison and is now lashing out because he finds himself in it. And the film contrasts the Michael Douglas character with a character played by Robert Duvall, who is also kind of a traditional man type, but sort of like finds comfort and satisfaction both in like just doing his job and also being as best as he can, like a productive husband or whatnot. But in kind of popular culture and memory, we think of falling down or remember falling down as angry white man justified at being angry.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that like falling down again, another movie that is not subtle, but just the fact that Michael Douglas does look super cool, you know, with the shotgun and his briefcase rampaging through Los Angeles. It is difficult to escape the that looks cool.
Mm.
If you have a movie star who looks like Brad Pitt fighting and posing, a movie star who looks like Keanu Reeves fighting and posing, a movie star who looks like Christian Bale fighting and posing, that image is what's going to stick with people,
Yeah.
almost regardless of what the actual message of the film is.
Can you think of a time when exercise brought you through especially difficult period in your life?
To the extent that it has, it's mostly been out of trying to keep routines. I mean, this, I guess, was the whole pandemic where we're inside. My wife they've canceled school, so she's home. We have a 2-year-old and we can't really do anything. My grandfather he died of COVID, so he passed away early on.
Wow, I'm sorry.
And so just being able to maintain a routine. And it just so happens that one of the main gym companies, whatever, in town, they maintain like a 24/7 kind of smaller gym over by one of the hospitals that anyone can go use. You just, as long as you're a member, you can go to it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just do that. I'll go at an odd hour, like 11 at night. It's not like I got to be anywhere in the morning, and go keep up a routine that way. And that was like, it was good. It was like good to be able to get out of my house and move around.
I remember that period too. And we also had a kid around that age, and just going for that one run per day was such a vital routine marker. Similarly, can you think of a time when exercise has moved you to a kind of a euphoric state or a different kind of mindset?
I don't know if I can.
That's okay. That's okay. I appreciate how you have kind of given the case for, the functionality of exercise and the fact that it's like, it is this thing that fits into your day and you do it because it's part of what you do to keep yourself running and keep yourself healthy,
Yeah, I mean, that's very much how I approach it. And certainly, I mean, it comes to satisfaction, right? Like, I'm not so much trying to lift heavier and heavier these days, but there was like I'm 39, so there was like a point maybe like 5 or 6 years ago when I was like, yeah, I'm going to try to deadlift 500 pounds.
Okay.
I'm going to do that, and really geared my habits towards being able to do that. And so the satisfaction, I don't think I ever reached 500, but the satisfaction of like deadlifting 485 pounds was like nice. I felt really good about it.
When you say you aligned your habits to kind of make that possible, the 485 deadlift, were you eating a lot more protein?
I was eating a fuck ton of protein. Yeah. It was sort of
Protein
like
shakes, or what form?
protein shake. At the grocery store at the time, you could buy turkey tenderloins. They were cheap. They're like $5 a pound. And a serving of like 4 ounces had like 30 grams of protein, something insane. So just sort of like 8 ounces of like pan fried turkey with like some broccoli. And it's like, that's 60 grams of protein right there for lunch. Eating like cod for dinner often. And so yeah, just it was eating a lot of protein all the time. And that's work. That's like a job that you have. It works.
That's the thing.
To my mind, it's like you do it if you have like a goal you're trying to achieve, you do it to reach that goal, and then once you've done that, you can kind of stop.
Right.
Like the idea of trying to maintain that indefinitely sounds nightmarish.
That also will change what clothes you wear, right?
Yeah. This is also the thing. There was, I think around the same time, I was like doing a creatine supplement too, which like you retain a lot of water when you do that. And so just sort of like, I was just like, I wore lots of baggy stuff for a year.
All right, we like to end on a lightning round. The first one is cardio or strength training if you had to choose one.
Strength training.
Protein shake or protein bar?
Protein shake.
Cottage cheese or Greek yogurt?
Greek yogurt.
Do you tend to eat or not eat before a workout?
Not eat, actually.
Sauna or cold plunge?
Sauna. The idea of a cold plunge, I don't like that.
Okay. Say you're going for a run. Do you prefer a high octane, loud music or kind of more mellow, meditative music?
I mean, it depends on where you are in the run. All of my running playlists, it kind of is like a high-low thing. Starts off high octane, kind of mellows out as the run comes to an end. You need that last boost. It progresses back up.
Peanut butter on a banana or a date?
A date. I don't like bananas.
I'm also a date guy. Theoretically speaking, what exercise would you imagine yourself doing in hell?
In hell?
Yeah.
What would I be doing in hell? I guess if I had to maintain a plank indefinitely in hell, that feels like I'd be very upset.
That's a good one. And how about heaven?
A gentle stroll through the woods.
Let's take it easy.
Yeah, let's take it easy.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jamelle. This has been a pleasure.
Oh, no problem.
Join us next time as we talk to actor, writer, director Brendan Bradley about still following his high school swim workouts, the discomfort of people treating him differently when he got shredded for a role, and the restrictions he had to follow as a Staples guy. See you then. Secretly Sporty was created and is produced by Sebastian Langdell and Austin Rackless. It's hosted by me, Sebastian Langdell, edited by Austin Rackless and Andy Rattinger. Our music is composed by Catherine Joy, cover art by Ben Wiseman, represented by Illustration Division, Inc. This outro song you're listening to right now is Cut the Line by Pocket Radio. Special thanks to Liam Billingham. Please note that we are not medical professionals nor personal trainers. Not all exercises are suitable for everyone. Always consult a doctor before starting any new exercise routine or nutritional program. The views expressed in this show are those of the show's creators or the guests, and not those of any other entity or institution.